Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to today's episode of Divine Union Podcast. I'm really excited because today we're talking all about why we lose ourselves in relationship and what are some ways to ensure that we stay in that sense of sovereignty, not sacrificing our needs on behalf of our partners, not putting our partners on pedestals, not losing all of our passions and those elements of us that attracted our partner to us in the first place. And I'm really excited to dig into this topic because this is something that happens often in relationship when you get in the routine and you get ingrained in the flow in partnership, and we start to focus on the connection, which makes sense. Focus on the connection and building and nurturing the connection and creating a sense of stability and routine and safety and partnership that sometimes we can lose that sense of self in the process. And so we're going to talk about two things today as it relates to not losing ourselves and staying in our sovereignty. One, we're going to talk about authenticity. And two, we're going to talk about wholeness. Because our authenticity in partnership is so important when we maintain that, because that's that part of us that voices when things don't feel good. It's that part of us that voices when we may disagree, lovingly disagree with a way that, let's say, our partner is showing up, or maybe a value that they're embodying that doesn't fully resonate. Maybe it's the way that you guys tell stories together in public. And maybe it can feel one sided or somewhat competitive. And maybe you prefer to have it be more of a collaborative experience when you're around other people. Maybe it's a value around how you are navigating the environment as a couple, and how you're recycling, not recycling, littering, an attitude towards the environment. Maybe there's a difference in opinion around how you're spending time as a couple. So maybe one party values, maybe you value quality time and you're not feeling like you're receiving that level of quality time that you desire. Maybe your partner is more of a talker and you desire to have more spaciousness in your communication, to process, to reflect, to bring up interesting topics in your day that come up that you want to share about. All of this ties back to authenticity, because if you're not expressing your unique frequency that is you in partnership and bringing that fully to the table in partnership, this is where we lose ourselves. This is where we forgo our needs for the sake of our partner, for the sake of the harmony, not wanting to hurt their feelings. There could be so many reasons that we don't fully express ourselves in the relationship. Hurting partners' feelings is a big one. I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to say something that's going to make them insecure. It's going to make them question my love for them. That's going to make them question themselves. But your authenticity is a gift to your partner to receive. And so it's finding ways on the communication side to express authentically, but to do it in gentle ways and loving ways and subtle ways and non-judgmental ways. You may not think the term judgment sometimes, it comes up in my sessions with couples and even individuals when we're doing communication work. So I'm like, you want to be mindful not to have it come off as a judgment. But that term can be confusing, because a judgment can even be when you're labeling something good or bad, when you're telling someone how they should do something, when you're assigning, why are you mad right now? That's a judgment, because you are assuming something of someone else's energy instead of just speaking to the behaviors. I notice that you haven't made eye contact with me all night. I notice there's a tone in your voice. And when we speak to behaviors and we don't use the judgments, people are more open to receiving us and receiving our authentic expression and our authenticity in a given moment of what we want, what we need, what we're seeing, what we're feeling, what we desire. Maybe there's a boundary. So honoring that. And what is the boundary in that moment? Maybe it's a boundary around if you're together in the same space, living together, and maybe your partner feels like just because you're sitting there on the couch, maybe you're sitting on the couch in the living room and your partner comes up and interrupts you and asks you a question or starts talking. And this is something, it comes up often in my couples work, is that balance between we're in the same space, but maybe partner A is meditating on something, reflecting on something, isn't ready to be disturbed. And it's that sensitivity and attunement for partner B to not always interrupt, finding ways to gain permission to connect, and also as a couple, finding times in which you set times to connect, and also boundaries around time when you're both focused and working on things. And it can even happen with roommates, is that dynamic of just because I'm in the space and not engaged on my phone and just maybe idly sitting there doesn't mean I may always be ready to engage. I may be thinking about something. And that's part of your authentic expression, is you communicating that and what you desire in a given moment or throughout the relationship. And what empowers our authentic expression in relationship, this comes to the second one, is the wholeness. Our wholeness, because our wholeness is made up of our masculine and feminine energies, but those words carry a lot of weight. And so I want to reset that term. And we don't even have to use that term, but I do because it's part of the um, cultural constructs that we live in at this time in history. But I want you to think of it as your active and receptive energies. Now, I don't say passive, I say receptive because passive tends to carry a negative connotation. And it's really about receptive. I am receiving others, I am attuning to others, I'm receiving my own energy, I am receiving guidance, receiving intuition. So it's tuning into both those energetics. And the reason that we need to be balanced in the energies to maintain our sense of wholeness, to be fully authentic and not lose ourselves, is because on the active side, so our masculine energy, no matter who you are, is the part of you that is active, that is doing. It's also the part of you. So that's taking action, that's voicing. I voice and express what's on my mind. I voice and express what I need. I voice and express a boundary. And on the feminine side, the receptive side, I first have to go in and reflect. What is it I need in this moment? What's triggering me in this moment? Where do I feel violated? And then on the active side, expressing it. Now, your masculine side is also the part of you, it's your core. We like to call it the masculine core. It's that part of you that knows who you are, what you're about, what you value, what you stand for, where you're going in life, where you're going in your career, setting your goals. And you need to continue to cultivate that in relationship. Otherwise, we tend to lose our sense of self in relationship. So I may say, wow, I'm Nicola. I love doing my yoga. It keeps me centered. It keeps me grounded. It's a really foundational practice in who I am as a human being. I'm focused on getting my continue going to grad school and getting my schooling and continuing to do this coaching work with individuals and couples. And that's where I'm going. I'm going in the direction of group work because I'm really passionate about it. And so I'm going to take aligned action to continue to go there. Masculine. Now, me having that solid core and maintaining that sense of individuality and who I am is going to help prevent me from losing myself in relationship, because I'm going to continue to strengthen that part of me, continue to work on doing my practices that keep me grounded, that keep me centered, that keep me sane, that keep me stress-free and at ease, continue to take steps towards my dreams, regardless of the fact that I'm in a beautiful new romance and it's sweeping me up and I'm excited about it. And there's so much fun that we're having, but that I continue to nurture my goals and my dreams and the passions and rituals that keep me grounded. Masculine. And on the feminine side, with that, with the authentic expression, and not losing self, it's also being able to tune in, being able to have that sensitivity. Ooh, Nicola, wow, you spent 5 days with this person or thinking about this person, and you haven't really focused on, you've lost sight of your practices. In those 5 days, you've only done it once, and you haven't focused on creating content, doing something for business. Now I need my feminine to reflect on that. Ooh, Nicola, we got to get back into center. Masculine, pull me back into center. Do the practice is actually the doing, getting into those practices again, forcing my time self to take space and time. I also need my feminine side to tune into my emotions and my feelings, my emotional body. Ooh, Nicola, wow, you're obsessing in this given moment. We need to come back to self because we're starting to lose self. Let's reset. Again, intuition, tuning into the emotions as a guide. Ooh, Nicola, wow, you're feeling really tense right now. Your jaw is tense, your belly is clenched. I can feel the angst happening within you. We need to get back into our practice so we can hit Zen again. Yoga, meditation, let's go. Calling you up into the stage right now, ready to go. So they work in harmony with each other to keep us whole, to keep us sovereign, and to keep us expressing, to maintain our sovereignty, be fulfilled in relationship, impact the direction of the relationship, also our own expression with ourselves of what we need in a given moment, where we're going, continuing to refine that. And then also on the feminine side, as it relates to communication, because as I said, the masculine is the outward expression, it is also communication. But the feminine is going to help bring a little bit of that subtlety and that softness to it. So as you're voicing a boundary or a need, it doesn't have to come off so aggressive, so direct. You can bring a little softness, little play, a little humor to it. You can allude to it in subtle ways, with spaciousness, with pause, with silence, giving the other person space to receive it and let it land. And this isn't about being passive, because remember the feminine energy, the way I see it, it's receptive. It's not about being passive, but what subtlety does is think about, okay, I went to dinner last weekend. I had dinner with this rabbi and his wife and some other people. And the rabbi was so powerful. This man is a tzaddik. He has so much wisdom to share. So he's been so learned in his life. And at dinner, he wasn't sharing most of the time. Actually, 3/4 of the time, he was asking questions. I would ask him something, and he would ask me one really powerful question. And that one really powerful question, I paused. I said, "Oh my goodness, you're such a mirror for me right now. the way I'm showing up and what I'm asking and how I'm communicating. It brought me so much awareness of myself through one powerful question and a pause. And that's what I mean by subtlety. He had a very strong, healthy feminine energy because that subtlety, that one thing, he could have given me the answer, talked my ear off, instilled all this wisdom. And I'm sure I would have loved that too, but it wouldn't have landed in the same way. And that's what I mean when I say subtlety. We can illuminate dynamics. You can ask a powerful question, a prompt reflection that can land so much stronger than you telling someone what to do or voicing your needs in a very direct way. And so having range and access to both is going to help us be stronger partners, more influential partners, more influential friends, leaders, all of the above, parents. And so for me, it all comes down to this wholeness and cultivating this balance of our active and receptive energies and knowing where we are in a given moment because that balance can change. And it can change from, I might be more receptive in relationship or responsive in relationship than I am in career, than I am with family. And so always gut checking, where do I feel off balance in a given moment, in a situation, in a time of my life, because it'll shift from moment to moment and doing different practices to cultivate both energies. So on the active side, it might be working with boundaries, working with communication, working with expressing of needs, even through movement, through dance, a form of expression, outward expression. And on the receptive side, the feminine side, if you're not as strong in that domain, it's cultivating your capacity to listen, to be curious, to ask questions, to reflect, to tune into your intuition, to practice surrender, letting go, spontaneity. And it's through that balance that we're going to continue to live life in a way that feels empowering, to feel empowered in our relationships without losing ourselves, with maintaining that inward connection to self, feminine energy, receptive energy, and maintaining that outward expression of our sovereignty, masculine energy, active energy. And this is how we're going to be the most fulfilled that we can possibly be. It's been such an absolute pleasure. Thank you, beautiful people, for tuning in to this week's episode of Divine Union. And share this episode with a friend, someone whom you feel would gain value, resonate with this topic of wholeness and authenticity to spread the mission of bringing more sovereignty and greater intimacy to this world by way of our sovereignty, by way of our wholeness. Have a beautiful day. I look forward to seeing you next week. And until then, may all your unions be divine.